Let's go. Welcome, everybody. It's pretty smooth. I like that. Baxter, good to see you, my friend.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Good to have you on the call, brother. Good to see you. I don't think I've talked to you in a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Hopefully, I'll be able to get a chance to see you soon.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Let's go.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, come on. All right, guys, we're going to get started with this call. Good to be with you today. Welcome. Good to see you, Jennifer, on the call with us today. Always on the call with us today. The wonderful, talented Jennifer Bolgen. Let's go, guys. We're getting started with this call, and I want to welcome you today. Powerful conversation we're going to be in today. All right. But before we do that, let's get started with some first things first activity. All right. Okay. That's me, just in case you didn't know, By the Books Consulting, Justin Bolgen. And I'm CFO tax strategist, your accounting superhero. You can reach us at 888-4BTB now. It's 888-428-2669. Let me just do that. It's 888-428-2669. And you can reach us on the web at youraccountingsuperhero.com. That's Justin. And you can also reach me at cbolgen at youraccountingsuperhero.com. That's email. And just to recap, what we deliver here is, we're your number one source for accounting in the trucking industry. Of course, we do the bookkeeping, accounting, the QuickBooks, the technology that helps you do this easy. We train you on the workflows and everything inside of your trucking company on making sure that you're able to record and track everything, which we'll get into later on in this call. We do the tax strategy and in terms of making sure that you're able to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket and you don't have to tip the IRS, right? And making sure that you're compliant with that as well. And of course, we do fleet operations advisory. And if you're part of this conversation, then you know about the Truck Profit Academy. If you haven't heard about that, if you're chiming in on YouTube while we're doing this live, this is a fantastic resource for those of you who are owners in the trucking space to get access to getting to the next levels in your company, no matter what that may be. It doesn't matter if you're getting started. Doesn't matter if you've been in the business for decades and you're looking to get to that next level. We give you an access by helping you be a part of this conversation. And of course, we deliver content like this. And then on the flip side, there's other content that we deliver. Like, for instance, I'm about to start a boot camp for systems and finance and accounting, and making sure that you're able to build out those structures so that there's the clarity. And you're going to understand why today, because we're going to talk more about financial statements, income statement once again, but we're going to get into the details of an income statement and how that could deliver like profitable decision making in your income statements just by going through a generic income statement from somebody we came across and some of the problems that exist with that. But you'll see if we have the proper systems in place, you'll be able to have the clarity for specific actions that you can take to get to those levels that you want to get to. So that's an example of what you can gain from being in the Truck Profit Academy. So I'm building out a boot camp. It's going to be a course that's going to be evergreen, but you're going to be with me live on that when we get that started. Okay, so that's one of those things that we do there. And you can get started with that by going to truckprofitacademy.com and getting on the getting signed up for free. Right now, it's free up until December 31st of this year. It's free, and it will be free for you as long as you get in before December 31st. Also, this is available to those of you who are in this conversation, free profit and cash flow analysis. You can book that free profit and cash flow analysis at youraccountingsuperhero.com/book-an appointment. So the idea is to stop wasting time and increase your profits and cash flow as soon as today. So an extra pair of eyes, especially somebody who's familiar with the ins and outs of what makes the difference in this industry, could be the difference maker inside of what you do. How many of you go about your business and thinking that you're on your own with things, that you just try to figure things out, throwing things up against the wall and seeing if it sticks, but not really sure if you're doing everything that it takes to win? Like, maybe you think you might be wasting time in certain areas and you're not sure that, well, this profit and cash flow analysis could give you that evidence that there are options for you, or that you're doing everything that you are intended to do, that you're supposed to do rather, right? So very powerful value here inside of this profit and cash flow analysis. You can get on a call with me directly or a member of my team, and we'll go over your business specifically to see those things. So stop wasting time and increase profits and cash flow as soon as today. Let's get busy, y'all. All right, disclaimer. Following is for educational purposes. Is not to be considered financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please consult your tax, accounting, and or legal professional for specific advice. And, you know, guys, if you're watching me right now, hopefully you can see me. I'm pinned up here. I'm doing something different. I just want to be with you more so in this conversation today. So I'm switching up how we're delivering this content so that I can be with you right here. Okay, so let's get started, guys. So today we're in a conversation about income statements, and we've been talking about income statements for the last couple of weeks. This is the third week in a row that we're talking about income statements, and the power inside of it is to really understand how you can choose to win in your trucking company. So I want you to win. All right, I'm sure you want you to win, and sometimes it might not be as clear as to how to win in your business, especially in the trucking industry, when you feel as though you're giving it everything that you've got and you've done everything that you can. And sometimes, you know, it may not be the truth of the matter. It may just be a feeling that you're doing everything you can. But when we get access to reading the numbers to a high degree, we have a skill set in terms of reading the numbers, specifically in this profit and loss statement that we're going to go over. Then there's new hope, not just new hope, but new actions really to deliver. So with certainty that you can have what you want in your business. Okay, so let's go over this, guys. First and foremost, I'm going to be sharing with you, you know, some generic finances that came across my desk a little while ago that we're working on, and there's some gaps inside of the financials. What I want to say about that is that it is super important. It is of paramount importance that you have the systems in place to track everything. Let me just bring that down. To track everything in your business with accuracy. Like it's tedious work. I get it. Sometimes like you think that you don't want to get back to the administrative work, like the office work inside what you do. So you may put it off for a while and things get piled up. And then the people that you hire, they may not necessarily be of greatest help to you when it comes to those systems. But I don't want that to stop you. I want you to be able to create the systems. So what do I mean by that? Systems allow you to leverage, which means that you can do more with less effort. So if you create it, here's something that I saw recently, just to bring this to light. We're working with somebody, and you know, it's evident that the systems that want to be there across the board are not in place. And when that happens, imagine this. Imagine that all the weight of an object, let's say we have a heavy object, and we have like a board, right? We have a board that heavy object is sitting on. And in the middle of that board, all right, in the middle of that board, we put all this weight. And there are no beams of support across that board to bring that weight across other objects, to leverage across other objects so that that weight is dissipated and managed across the whole thing. So all the weight sits in one area. And if that weight just sits there over time, there's a potentiality of that whole area falling through because it can't support all that weight. So inside of your business, you can identify gaps in systems by looking at complaints from people. Right? They're a high indicator of complaints, because complaints are a high indicator of whether your systems are ineffective, is what I want to say. So if we take a look at the complaint that somebody in your organization is giving you, and it's a feedback of something that might be a greater issue systematically, then it's an opportunity to use that, to leverage that, to create a system that is effective across the board. So we have somebody that we were working with, and one person is like the administrative superhero inside of their establishment. But when that person, by the way, has not taken a break and not taken a vacation in more than 2 years. All right. So here's some evidence for you that the systems are not put in place. When this person leaves, everything piles up in one day. There's a backlog that is potentially unrecoverable. All right, unrecoverable. In one day, it's potentially unrecoverable when she's missing, right? Because the backlog and things just don't go the way they want them to go. So the types of things that happen in that situation are number one, like their suppliers. They will get blacklisted by their suppliers because they're not on time paying their bills. Just because the people in the office don't know what's going on. That was the person that knows what's going on, right? Red flag. Okay. Um, the customers won't pay on their invoices because of discrepancies on the paperwork that are handled by this one person to make sure that that process is accounted for in the billing cycle for their customers. So when that happens, when it's leveraged, when it's not leveraged and it's really on one person or one part of the business, then it's just a catastrophe waiting to happen for the business. So I'm delivering this communication inside of this part of our conversation because it is of critical importance that you create systems in your business to handle these processes, right? And the systems could be simply, hiring, outsourcing it. Like for instance, like that situation is being handled by my team and I now. We actually creating that strict structure in their business to make sure that they're not going to drop the ball. We're going to pick up that slack, and now that that gets evened out across the system now because we have that covered. Okay, and we have the systems that we can put in place over here. All right, now if you don't have something like that, you want to start looking at, well, how can you do that for your own company? Who's going to be accountable for what inside of teams. We had a really great conversation before this, guys, a series before this about systems and how to build those systems inside of your business, what you should actually put into place, what are the basic components you want to put in place in terms of your systems to make sure that you're good to go and that you're not at risk for your whole business falling through because of all the energy and weight on one place of the business and it won't support it. Okay. So it's important, paramount importance that you have that in place. Okay. With that, you can actually move it, forward and scale fast and go hard and heavy into the levels that you want to go without the worry and the concern that you won't be able to support the growth. All right. So this is once again of utmost importance that you create those systems, not only just to have them in place, but to make sure that they're designed to do exactly what it is that they need to do. For instance, in your financial track and reporting, you want to make sure you have systems and structures in place to reflect the accuracy in your financial reporting. For the reasons I've said earlier, because you don't want to get blacklisted by your customers. You don't want to get blacklisted by your suppliers, right? Those are things that you really want to put into place to ensure that you have longevity in your trucking business. Okay, so it's super important. Now, once you create those structures, they want to be honored in a way where you know that they're working into posterity, which means forever. You know that they're building up. You actually, if you have the system in place, it'll work there into the future, and then you have a way to build upon the system that you've already created in your business. All right. Again, it's super important to do that, or you're setting yourself up for disaster in that process. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying, guys. I can't emphasize that enough. All right, you want to have those systems in place. You want to be able to track everything to a T. Like financially, you want to know what's going on because if you don't do that, then anything that we talk about today, it's not going to make the difference because you're not going to be looking at the truth. You're going to be frustrated because now you got to go back and find out, well, how you put the information together to give you exactly what you need. And that's a process, guys, and you never really get clear on where you want to go in your business. And for me, it's always a focus to create those structures so that I have the information that I need. Right? If I don't have that in place, well, that's the thing that I want to get in place right now. That's how I operate personally. To make sure that those systems and structures are put in. If I don't have it, then it's going to be something where I'm going in hardcore to make sure that that's put in. Okay, and I invite you to do the same to make sure you have those systems and structures put in your business so that you can get the information like we're talking about, like we're about to talk about here today, and it's the truth. And you're going to see some gaps too inside of what we share, like I said before, because their structures are there, they're tracking things, and things are a little off in terms of how they get tracked. So we want to bring that into reality, into the truth, even more so than what it is. All right. And we're going to get value out of what we see here today. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing this, guys, so that we get an idea of what I'm talking about. By the way, just dropping a message in the chat if what I said makes sense. If you have any questions about what I said, you can drop me a message in the chat just to deliver that. Okay. Make sure that that's clear for everybody. All right, awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good, fantastic. All right, guys, let's go. Go ahead and share this with you. Let me know if this is shareable. If when I share this, if it makes sense to you guys, if you guys can see it. Really, it was what I want to ask. If you guys can see what I'm sharing when I share it, I want to make sure that you guys are able to see it. Okay, this is share. You can't see it now, but all right, can we see this? Okay, is this visible for you? I'm going to go ahead and pin myself to the screen here too, so it's visible for everybody. Just checking in. Let me know. Give me the thumbs up if you can see it in the chat, so we can go over this. Okay. All right, guys. So we're looking at some financials, okay, for a trucking company. And typically this is what we want to take. This is how we want to look at it. You know, average companies that I see, they come and they don't have everything put together in a way where they can read it down the line, where this financial statement flows down the line so that they get a lot of value out of reading their financial statements. So what I like to do is when people come in is to make sure that this starts lining up the way it's intended. And also what I've seen is that when we go in and do this with people, there are habits that others have developed that didn't serve, and I can see them coming back into place. So it's a constant thing where we create those structures to ensure that we get these financial statements reported in the way that makes sense over time, like over and over again. We have to keep reproducing that in terms of the clarity in the financial reporting. All right, so pretty good what we're looking at here. And guys, let me just make sure that I have that feedback, because I don't think I have the feedback whether or not you guys can see this. All right, back, it's blurry. You can't see it clearly from Baxter. Can anybody else not see this clearly? Because if it's not, I'm going to switch this up to make sure that we can see this clearly. I'm going to go ahead and switch it up to another platform here to share it. All right, awesome. How about that? I know you guys can see that now. And is that looking good? Just give me a thumbs up in the chat. Okay. So as we can see, this is pretty good, pretty decent income they had in 2023 for a smaller trucking company. You know, now they did almost 19 million, like 300,000 shy of 19 million in revenue total. All right, but this is what we want. We want to get our main income, which is the trucking revenue, up top, and then we want if there's any other revenue, because they have rental income as well from the equipment, so they'll put that here as in the top line items as well, and we can see how much that makes up. It's very, very small, a fraction amount of what they do overall with their main business. All right, so we have the trucking income, definitely that's the bulk of it. That lines up. Then we have the rental income, and we know that they do that. And then there's a finance chart. So this is basically, when we see things like this, I can see like the productive way of thinking, the productive approach to business. So if they're going to give advances to their people, this is what this is, and this is a number story. What I'm saying here is a number story that this is reflecting, is when they give their people advances. A lot of us go through here in the trucking industry. A lot of you in the trucking industry will go ahead and give your drivers cash advances, and we got to think about, well, why would you do that? What's the benefit of you and your company, and how can you actually make that a value proposition for your company to deliver that? And what I mean is, well, if you're going to advance them, why advance them for free? Right? Why not make money with the advance and have another stream of income coming in? Because there is a strain on cash flow when you're advancing your people, and you want to get compensated for those things. And there is there is a reciprocation of that. Like if I'm giving you money, then there's a finance charge for me giving you that money, right? And this is the beautiful thing that they did. They actually implemented this toward the end of that year. That's why the lumber is a little lower than what it is, and it makes sense to do that. Okay, it makes a whole lot of sense to do that, and we can see how this income structure is breaking down in a way where it's like, man, they have a lot of potential, upside potential with this income structure. That's what I'm seeing here. Upside potential with the income structure. And when I say upside potential with the income structure, it means that, okay, they have their main income and they're not 100% relying on it. They're almost 100% relying on it, but they've actually developed diversification inside of that income. And they have other options here too, which is fantastic. And I want you to ask yourself the question, because if you read your financial statement, does it look like this? And do you have any diversification in here when it comes to income? And if not, well, why not? And if there's an opportunity to do that, where are your opportunities to do that inside of your business to diversify the income for your trucking company, right? Because they've done it here. It makes sense, right? So if we're not present to it, if we're not present to this when we read our financial statements that were just one-sided, and there's what we call being over leveraged in one position. This is what we call this. It means we're relying too much on one thing. Then that presents an additional risk that we want to address and mitigate. We want to start to reduce that risk overall, if that is the case. So they still are high risk because they are mainly inside the trucking revenue, and they're doing fantastic with that. Okay, they're doing a great job to bring in a good amount of revenue. And how can they reduce the risk now? So how can they make sure that that business stays in place if something dips inside of the main revenue? Right? That's the thing that we have access to when looking at our income statement. Get this, man. We're just at the top line of this. All right. We're just at the top line, and we have all these new ideas and new actions that we could possibly take in our own business, which is the point, right? Well, if we're out in reality with it, we bring it out in front of us in reality, and we can see it, then, and not just see it, but understand what we're seeing, like reading this and understand what we're seeing, then we have access to new actions, the new actions that we can take, right? So what new actions are available just in the first three lines here? Well, it's like, man, we've been doing great. Let's keep doing great here with the trucking revenue. That's number one. Keep doing great here in the top line, right? How can we grow this? Maybe we can grow this about 10% more next year, 20% more next year, right? What would that look like? How could we do that? Because we're doing so well here. Let's keep doing that and do that more. And this wants to be improved, right? This is not doing as well. This is the gap that we want to bridge. There's another additional revenue stream that we can actually branch out on because we have this on lock. This is actually working pretty well. We can actually develop this more to increase our probability of success in the industry and not heavily reliant just on this nature of revenue. Right now, we can actually focus here to build this up. We could focus here to build this up as well. Right, since now we're building up profitability and there's potentially excess cash on hand to work with, how can we move that cash around to make more money on that cash that we have, right? So those are the things that we can actually think about, and there's more that's available here, all right? So we're not going to get into too much more beyond the top line, but I want you to get here in this part of the conversation that actions are available when we start reading our numbers. Actions are available when we start reading our numbers. All right. Now, here's another thing. Okay, how much is it costing us directly to do this? This is direct costs associated with running loads and producing what you produce. Okay, now, again, we talk about direct costs. Direct costs are things that don't happen. You don't incur these unless you're producing the revenue, unless you have jobs to do. If you don't have any jobs, you don't have this cost. If you don't have any loads, then you don't have this cost. Right, you only have driver costs because they're driving the load. If you didn't drive the load, then you wouldn't have to pay the driver. Okay, you only have owner-operator expenses for the same reason. If their load's being booked, or otherwise you wouldn't have those. Okay, now there are other expenses that go along with this. Like for them, they're in the oil market, so there are the direct service costs that they incur that they would not have if they didn't have the jobs that they do. And there's an out of alignment on this statement because a lot of the direct service costs, some of them anyway, and I was looking at this a little while ago, some of these on here want to be pushed up here to see, what the actual number, the truth in the numbers, right? Some of these numbers are missing, the direct service costs. Like for the oil industry, there are freshwater disposals and dirty water disposals because there's a lot of hydrovac work, there's some digging and everything, and it's kind of like the construction market in a sense where you have a haul ways from the sites. They'll take that away from the site and then dump that at another location. They have disposal centers and waste disposal centers across the region, and so there's a cost associated with that they have to pay, right? And that's the direct cost associated with it. And we want to make sure that all those numbers are accounted for up here in this line. Okay, and some of them are not. A lot of them are like 6.6%, but I think there's like if I go down here, I actually did it a little while ago. There's another 3% that's not accounted for here, right? So that's another out of alignment. We want to be able to see that up front. Well, how much it really cost me to do the jobs that I did. The other things that are part of this are fuel. We won't have to pay fuel unless we're driving the truck. That would be considered to be something that would be up here as well. You don't have to put it up here. Most people choose to put it down here in the operating expenses, which is the next part of the income statement. And when they do that, it can cause us not to see the things that we need to see up front. Like, what are my gross profit margins really? Like, how much is it really costing me to do the load? Now, when we get that up front, then it's like, oh wow, I only really have this much money. Right? It was like, okay, well, even though I did all these loads, I only have this much to work with. Now, the couple of things that show up here is like, well, what is the industry standard for me to pay for these direct costs? That would be the next action to look into. What are the industry standards for me to pay this amount? And am I above that or am I below that? How am I performing according to the industry standard? How can I improve that with what we're currently doing in operations? Right? Those are the questions that we can start to ask ourselves, and those are the actions we can have directly related to the information that we've gotten hold of by reading this. Okay, and now we can improve performance, which means that you can reduce the cost here if you're spending above industry standard. For example, like driver costs, like owner operator costs. Really, the driver cost is what wants to be here in terms of that's what's missing here as well, like company driver costs. That wants to be at like 30% or less. Okay. Now, owner operator costs, this actually could be depending on the ratio here, because the thing that we don't have here is like we call a weighted ratio. Like so basically, well, versus how much of this revenue here, the total revenue, was produced by owner operators. Now, if that was only like maybe 50% of this income, well, then this number goes up to about 70%, which makes sense now, right? That would be owner operator cost of that particular revenue, right? So that would actually make a whole lot of sense if half of this money was produced by owner operators and the other half was produced by company drivers, right? And we don't have those numbers right here for company drivers, and they want to be here. So I'm presenting this in a way where you can see the gaps that are in your financial reporting if you're not paying attention. So the gap is, well, I want to see this number here for my driver costs, and it's not here yet. So I need to get it here. How can I get it here so I can see what's happening with my driver costs? I guarantee you it's somewhere lumped inside of the wages, which is down the line here. I'm going to go down really quickly just to go into the wage portion of it, because they have 25% here in wages. Most of that is I bet is driver costs. Okay. And that's in line with what it wants to be. Well, if you factor that in, it's another 30% here almost, right? You're at 80%, like you're reducing this gross profit margin down to 27%. That's another 30% that's missing here. So we're reducing it down to 27%, which is getting closer to what that gross profit margin would be in the industry. All right. So guys, I know we're just scratching the surface in this in terms of reading this financial statement. In our calls on this session, really I'm looking to get them done at 7:30 Eastern time. And we're right at our time right now. And I want to make sure that inside of the time that we have here together, that I'm delivering, something really specific for you. The thing that I want to deliver is you being able to see the opportunity that it is to be able to read your number story and have this recorded in a way where it's reflecting the truth so that you have accuracy in what you're actually reading. You're actually following this story along very well, right? Super important, guys. It gives you access to actions. Like in terms of like the actions that this really can deliver at the bottom line of it is that you get to increase your profitability. You get to keep more cash in the bank. You get to be successful consistently. Life does not no longer becomes a mystery. You have actions that you can take that you are confident in. You know that you can succeed in the business beyond whatever you thought possible before. That's what this makes available, right? When we're able to read this down the line and understand what's happening and make decisions based on what we're reading, okay? Guys, it's been great being with you tonight. Short conversation, man. It went by so quickly, right? So quickly. And it's always a pleasure being with you guys. All right. Take this information that I give you and run with it. Okay. I want you to really succeed in everything that you do. And in order to do that, it takes what we're talking about here today to be really good at this aspect of your business, as well as all the other aspects of your business. It's not just the other aspects that want to be put in, like the load planning, managing your drivers, making sure that the logistics are handled. Really, it's going to be in understanding your numbers that gives you the next level to your business. It's also going to be in the development of your systems in your business that gives you access to that next level. Okay, guys, talk to you next week. Have a great week. See you then. Take care. Bye-bye.